Hello, my name is Brian Bush, and I'm the park manager for the Perryville Battlefield State Historic Site. And today we're going to talk about Zouaves. The weapon you see before you is a Model 1862 Colt Pocket Police revolver with refinished composite grips, not factory grips, which means the gentleman that owned this weapon had to special order the grips from the factory. Now, the pocket model that you see before you belonged to a gentleman named James Baldwin. Now, James Baldwin was born in 1835. When the Civil War broke out, he joined the 2nd Ohio Infantry, Company D. In the spring of 1861, President Abraham Lincoln called for 100,000 volunteers, and each state had to fill a quota. Recruiters quickly filled their quotas, and a number of Ohio regiments had been formed, including 2 regiments enlisting for a 3-month period. The 2 Ohio regiments were the 1st Ohio Infantry and the 2nd Ohio Infantry. The 2nd Ohio was mustered in at Columbus, Ohio on April 18, 1861, and was under the command of Colonel Lewis Wilson. By July, the regiments were loaded on trains and headed for Washington, D.C., where the regiment served in the fortifications surrounding the capital. The regiments was then attached to Chenec's Brigade, Tyler's Division, General Irwin McDowell's Army of Northern Virginia. On July 16th, the regiment marched to Manassas, Virginia, and then the next day occupied Fairfax Courthouse. On July 21st, the regiment participated in the fighting at the Battle of Bull Run and retreated to Washington, D.C. following General McDowell's stunning defeat. When the 3-month term of enlistment expired, the regiment mustered out on July 31st of 1861. After the disbandment of the 2nd Ohio Infantry, Baldwin joined the 137th Ohio Infantry of the National Guard. He commanded Company E. The 137th Ohio Infantry were known as the Zouaves Guards of Cincinnati. The regiment was organized at Cincinnati during the Civil War, and they were mustered into emergency state service during Confederate General John Hunt Morgan's invasion of Ohio in the summer of 1863 during his Great Raid. Baldwin later entered service as the commander of Company G, 137th Ohio Infantry Regiment for 100 days. Now I'm going to switch over here and show you our next item here. And this is a Zouave uniform. Zouave was the title given certain light infantry regiments in the French army, normally serving in the French North Africa between 1831, and they actually served all the way up until 1962. The chief distinguishing characteristics of such units were the Zouave uniform, which included short, open-fronted jackets, baggy trousers, often sashes, and oriental headgear. Numerous Zouave regiments were formed from soldiers of the United States of America who adopted the name and the North African-inspired uniforms during the Civil War. The Union Army had more than 70 volunteer Zouave regiments throughout the conflict, while the Confederates fielded about 25 Zouave companies. The American Zouave uniform was sometimes quite elaborate. Some Zouave regiments wore a fez cap, which was usually had colored tassels of yellow, blue, green, or red, a turban, a fitting short jacket, some with buttons, some without, a wide 10-foot-long sash, baggy pantaloons, and Cheshire trousers, white leggings, and short leather cuffs for the calf called jambiers. Let me get you a little closer look here. This one does happen to have buttons. The sash was especially difficult to put on, often required the help of another Zouave. Difficulties in supply and replacement meant that the Zouaves and other exotic militia uniforms tend to be replaced by standard issue uniforms throughout the conflict. Now getting back to Captain Baldwin died on September 18, 1915, and is buried in the Hillside Chapel Mausoleum, Cincinnati, Hamilton County, Ohio. He had 1 daughter. Now, some of you may be asking out there, were there Zouave regiments at the Battle of Perryville? According to the regimental histories of the 42nd Indiana Volunteer Infantry, they reported that they battled the famous quote-unquote Louisiana Tigers. The 42nd Indiana Infantry reported that the regiment fought a part of Adams' 13th, 16th, 20th, 25th and 14th Battalion Louisiana Sharpshooters. The 42nd Indiana did not fight Wheaton's battalion, but in actuality, they fought the 13th Louisiana Infantry. Enough men from the 13th Louisiana Infantry must have been wearing some type of Louisiana-style uniform in order for the 42nd Indiana to be confused. The 13th Louisiana were formed on September 11, 1861 at Camp Moore and were known as the Avenjo Zouaves, named after Major Anatole Avenjo. They were also known as the Battalion of Governor's Guards. According to reports, the regiment performed gallantly at the Battle of Perryville. Special thanks must go to Alan Howeller and actor Steve Zahn. And the uniform that you see here is purportedly to be one of those Louisiana uniforms. Unfortunately, we don't know what exact regiment. And again, thank you for joining me on this video today. And if you have any comments, leave it in the section below. And again, come on out to the Perryville Battlefield State Historic Site and see our wonderful collection on our museum, and come walk our 19 miles worth of interpretive trails.